All right, welcome guys. I am so excited to bring to you today my special friend, Courtney Sykes. She is the founder of Southeastern Esthetics Institute in South Carolina. Our topic for today is empowerment and self-care. So I'm really excited to get this started. If you were ever in a toxic relationship, you know how messed up your entire body and nervous system can be when you get out. That's why getting out is just the first step to truly being free. Join me each week as we talk about various holistic wellness solutions to restore your well-being, build a healthy and thriving life, and form new healthy relationships after getting away from someone that never deserved you in the first place. Come on, my beautiful flock. Y'all rise up like the empowered phoenix you are and show the world your colors. Y'all, I just have so much to share. She has so much to share. We have been friends our entire life. Like our parents were very good friends, and I have watched her just grow from just standard everyday life to this amazing founder of this institute. And I'm going to give her the floor to share what she does and everything. And we're going to talk a little bit about the placement of how this institute has provided so much for people. And so welcome, Courtney. Welcome so much. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Loriana, I'm so excited to see you. You're beautiful as always. Oh my gosh. I love everything you stand for, and I'm excited for all your podcast listeners. So continue to listen to Loriana. She's amazing for sure. But my name is Courtney Sykes. I'm the founder of Southeastern Esthetics Institute. And I say that because there are so many things that I do on a daily basis. So we'll get to all of that. But to start with, I opened the school, Southeastern Esthetics Institute, in 2012. But back before that, I always tell this story to my students that my mother passed gas for a living. We'll say that loosely. That's hilarious, right? Because she's a nurse anesthetist, retired now. So she passed gas for a living. I know they always laugh when I tell that story. But I say that to say is that she started that in 1980, got into the medical spa industry in 1997. And so this was when the medical spas were really just coming out. I'm actually fixing to launch a book later this year that kind of goes into her history and our history together. But growing up in her laser center, she did electrolysis, she did laser hair removal, laser cosmetic lasers of all kinds, cosmetic injectables. It was really there that I kind of learned that skincare and all of that is more than just what we see on the surface. It's how to make people feel and look amazing. But even before I went to aesthetics school doing that, I ran her office. I went to college at USC, specifically originally for teaching small children. It's funny how now I'm teaching adults, then switched my major over to business and accounting, and then went to aesthetics school too. So all of that, but learned so much from her. I always tell my students as well that I help them with LLC formations and helping them grow their businesses. And I remember running payroll by hand, downloading tax tables and doing all of that for my mother Aetna's business. And a lot of learning in the early 2000s. So around 2005, when I got my aesthetics license, we were hiring estheticians. And here she is working alongside the doctor that we had on site at the time. They didn't understand how to work with the practice of medicine, not that they needed to, but to work kind of synergistically together. So I would put all the estheticians through my little training. I've always been a mini teacher in some form or fashion, and then realized that it was time to really open up a school that had these opportunities for individuals that were looking to kind of bridge that gap between regular basic aesthetics training, which is skincare, beautification of the skin, and then kind of what was trending at that exact time, which is the medical spa arena. Medical spa items are not only cosmetic lasers and injectables and all of that, but kind of the understanding of wellness, which is why I thought this was fun to be a part of your talk today, because there is a huge correlation between the two. And now fast forward, so that was 2012, fast forward to today in 2024, I've met my husband. He came from corporate America. So in 2018, he became the CEO of my company. Thank God. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to teach in the classroom every day like I'm able to, which is a beautiful thing, and grew the school from 1,500 square feet now to what we have purchased together over many obstacles, I assure you, to get to this place. We just closed on this building on Spears Creek Church Road in the Elgin area. I say that because it's still in Richland County, so it should be Columbia. But it's 150,000 square feet on 29 acres. We bought the Verizon Wireless Call Center. And so we're right now trying to fill the space. We've got a DSS approved daycare center now. That's
Yes, I
amazing.
saw that.
Yes. So come visit all the cute little babies. They're so sweet. We have a DSS approved cafeteria. We have multiple programs. So I just got done doing orientation 5 minutes ago for our new clinical medical assistant students. So we are governed by the LLR, Board of Cosmetology, governed through the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education that oversees massage as well as clinical medical assistant. We plan to launch some other medical programs in 2025. So that's exciting, such as sonography and some of those other kind of fun classes too. Them. Who else? We are licensed through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, U.S. Department of Education. So I've been accredited as a school since 2017, did all that by myself, almost killed me. That's why I have gray hair. That's the story. But then, of course, at that time, it was perfect for my husband to come in. So it just all happened so perfectly. But to wrap up the programs, like I mentioned, aesthetics, cosmetology, nails, we're launching barbering too. We have that classroom ready to go. And then, like I said, massage, clinical medical assistant, and we're going to do some others in 2025. So I am also a big advocate for regulatory compliance. It's just kind of been my trajectory over time as being a school owner. And so I'm on the task force at the Board of Cosmetology. So I help them with kind of coming up with different things to bring us into a safe zone, of course, with the public, but also into today's, trends when it comes to the aesthetics industry specifically. And then I also travel around sometimes with the Council on Occupational Education, which is our accrediting agency. They're located in Atlanta. And so I get to go visit other schools and help get them situated for their reaffirmations of accreditation. But all that to say, my favorite thing is helping students with their own private businesses. This is where I'm sitting right now, is my private office that I share with my husband. He's at home with our kiddos right now. But I love bringing students in here. I mean, we have 250 active students right now. We've got almost 50 employees, but my private time I have with students is the most important to me, not only in the classroom, but here in my office, because many of them want to go and open their own businesses. And it's just so fun to see where they want to go. I mean, women specifically, we have men too, but women really need to open their own business. I always say, just do it, just try it. It could be small or it can be big, but try it. You'll make the most money in the beauty and wellness space when you work for yourself. You'll feel the most empowered. You will help so many people. And of course, we help place people in W-2 positions as well with other people's businesses also. That's a big part of accreditation, completion, licensure, and placement. But I love those private moments. And I think that is why we do so well, is that, one of the owners of the company, myself, I'm in the classroom with the students and I'm here to help them. They see me on a weekly basis. I'm not in there every day, but I'm with them at least once a week in some form or fashion, hosting business workshops, and I do financial forecasting classes with them. We're also big on support for veterans. We're huge with that. In fact, we have, and you would love this too, Loriana, we have an on-site mental health therapist. She's a licensed therapist, and she is semi-retired she's actually fully retired, but semi-retired meaning she works for us.
Yeah.
Prior, she used to work for the Department of Mental Health and the Department of Corrections. And so she loves providing free mental health counseling for our students and our graduates, and specifically catering to veterans as well, because we have such a big veteran population. But I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, but we love helping people. And one of my favorite things this year, and you can ask me some questions, of course, but I always tell my students, write down your intention every day. My intention since January 1, and they change a little bit, but one of my favorite intentions I write down in my little personal planner. I have a business one and I have a personal one. So very organized. I love time management, is to create meaningful experiences for others. Create
Yeah.
meaningful experiences for others. And so that can go into anything I'm doing that day, from my private little one-on-ones to big group discussions with 50 to 100 people, or talking to a client, or helping my departments. We have a lot of leaders here that need leadership themselves. And so as long as I'm helping other people, I am happy with going home at the end of the day and hanging out with my family. And I think women specifically need that, because we've all
Yes.
got through challenges, and we can overcome those challenges and be the best person we can be. You just have to focus on what's pulling at your heart and do that thing that you're scared
Yeah.
to do, and then you'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love all of that. And you
Good.
touched on so many things that I do want to kind of like go a little bit deeper into, if
Sure.
that's okay. So I love how you kind of grew with, you know, did you have a vision when this particular institute, was it ever like I know that's what I'm going to do, or did it just kind of grow from a smaller vision? How did this become to be something that's just so big and in depth? Like how did that happen? I know we started at your mom's.
Yeah.
When did this become what you knew you wanted to do?
Yeah. Well, I thought I would incorporate this into our talk today that not many people know. Some people know, so I'll share this because I think it kind of goes with your audience. But you remember, I'm from Sumter, South Carolina, tiny little town, as are you, and love Sumter. My parents still live there. They love it. It's about, gosh, an hour and 15 from here, maybe 45 minutes from here, hour and 15 from
Yeah.
Lexington, where I live now. But when I first thought about opening the school, I never thought about leaving Sumter. Okay. So that was never my thought to make it into a big, grandiose thing. I just cared about education.
Mhm.
And at the time, I just had my son, who is now 13 years old, which is craziness. That's a different story.
I
Uh,
know.
yeah, exactly. We could talk about mom stuff later, but he was an infant baby at the time that I was getting my instructor license before I opened the school. And I would go and take these classes and do all of that. Well, my first husband, now I'm married to my second husband. I always say second time's a charm, not always for everybody, but for me.
Yep.
And, I remember going through times that I have chosen to just move past at this point in my life, because I am the driver in the driver's seat of my own life. But at the time, I was going through an abusive marriage myself, just so and it was what it was. And I just realized I had this realization as I was launching the school, and I probably had the school going for a little bit of time, to say, this is what I'm doing. I'm helping so many people. Let me get out of this toxic thing and let me continue to help those people. So I made a choice to actually move the school in, when was this? 2014, to Columbia, South Carolina. So we moved it, or I moved it, because it was just me at the time. And I just had maybe one other teacher, but opened on Gervais Street in Columbia. And it was also not only a combination of just some personal matters that I decided to kind of move to the capital of our state, but at the time too, because I was loving the school, loving what we were accomplishing. So many people were moving to Sumter to go to the school. So I felt, well, gosh, this is very tragic. They have to come to Sumter, South Carolina to come to school, right? I'm kidding. But it really put the school in more of a centrally located place.
Yeah.
And to finish out that answer, I mean, we could go on, but over time, as you're renting and leasing business space, you kind of grow out of that space. So I would lease another space next door to us, lease another space. And so by the end of it all, in 2019, right before 2020, we had about 7 different suites on Gervais Street. I mean, you can just imagine the
Hmm.
point where you just get to this place, you can't pay enough rent at that point. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So we
Yeah.
decided to consolidate everything, and move to the TAPS building. Now, my grandmother, Mama Nell, I'm sure you know her,
Hmm.
who is now deceased, but she loved the TAPS building. This was on Main Street. So my husband and I decided to put a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars into renovating that historic building. I love historic buildings. We were on Gervais Street for so long in historic buildings. I just became a lover of historic buildings. And so we renovated that. But in the midst of that, and this is where any business person or woman on your podcast looking to ask specific questions about business related items, I could tell you many, many stories, but one of them is find out who your landlords are, find out where they live. The owners of this building at the time and lived out, and they do still live out of state. And so there was not enough maintenance going on to take care of the building. Long story short, on Christmas Day, 2023, Christmas Day, we get a call from my attorney that there was a huge flood of our entire building that happened during that freeze. I don't know if you remember that
Yeah.
Christmas 2023, and it froze the pipes and burst the pipes, and it ruined millions of dollars of equipment and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of upfitting that we had done in the space. We had just laid down this gorgeous tile on the walls, on the floor. I mean, gold wrapping around these reception desks. And so I had a choice at that time. And I would say that's probably one of the hardest things that we've been through just from a loss standpoint, because all I could think about was the students. All I could think about was the students. And so I decided, I said, well, honey, we've got to find a place right now. We're not going to wait on the insurance companies because that takes a little bit of time. So found this building, had never found it before. I'm sure if you're like any woman, you love looking online and looking at real estate, whether it's commercial or residential. So found this, I said, well, this is very giant. I'm sure you don't want to occupy the whole building, but our friend Lee Bussell with Wilson Kibler, he's a commercial real estate broker, very good friend of ours. He got us the keys on January 1, and we were able to take over the building. And long and short of that one is it was under a foreclosure at that time from Verizon Wireless. So we were able to snag it at a good deal. And it just goes to show you that, God or the higher power, or whoever it is you believe in, has a divine plan, even in the midst of these very difficult times, that this was actually what was supposed to happen, I guess, right? Because now we're able to take care of more people and able to give people more space. We have a great parking lot that we never had downtown at all. I mean, we had safety issues downtown, had to have security officers on site who we loved, but we don't need them out here. We have a police station across the street, church across the street, elementary school across the street. It's just the most wonderful thing. So if people can just look past their problems and stopping, you have to keep going and looking for these opportunities because they're actually right there before your eyes. If you can find the opportunity, go take it, even if the world just crashed out from up underneath you, right? I mean, we had all of our assets, complete total loss. And, to end this answer to your question, our insurance company told us the other day, they said, well, you have to be, out of anybody we've served nationwide, the only company that's been able to get back up that fast. They said everybody at our company nationwide knows who Southeastern Esthetics Institute is because of how fast y'all just went and found a place and just kept going. And my husband and I told him, we said, well, it's because of our students. We don't care. I mean, the stuff is the stuff, but it's about the students. They deserve to have a place to come. That's what they're paying for. That's the experience that we promised them. And when I put my name on something, I'm going to finish that through. So here we are, Lori, and I don't know if that helps.
No, yeah. So you gave me chills. You gave me
Oh,
chills.
okay.
Because that is so much about one of the things that we focus on very much at the Freedom Project Academy is taking, like, don't, there is always going to be negative and there's always going to be positive. That is nature, that is life. And it's what you focus on that has the power. So if you are focusing on the loss, if you're focusing on, oh my God, I just lost all of this. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? There's no such thing as trying. There is only doing. There is only picking it up or pretending that you're picking it up. Like you're either doing it or you're not. So I have this, I have a motto that's action is the reflection of a decision. And you guys decided, well, we're going to focus on the positive. This is an opportunity, like you said, this is an opportunity to grab this thing. We're not going to just try to do it. We're just going to do it. And that flows so much with exactly what we work on with our ladies that are, they've been in a toxic relationship, they've been knocked down, they have had their whole world just ripped out from under them, whether they chose to step away or whether, the fella or woman, whatever, walked away themselves or whatever it is, and their whole world is flipped upside down. They
Mhm.
could sit and wallow and cry and complain and woe is me. They could. Or they can get up and they can walk on and find the next opportunity and harness their power, harness their life, harness the that internal fire that God puts in us when we need to do something. Because I had a therapist tell me when I was going through my divorce, she said this was like like the first couple of days, and I told her I had this feeling. I was like, I don't have any doubts. Like this is what I'm doing. She goes, God put a fire in our belly so that we can do what we have to do.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like he put a fire in y'all's belly and you're like, okay, this is what we got to do, so let's go do it. And I love on top of that that you were focusing on the people, that it
Yes.
wasn't even the material, it was the people. That is so powerful to me in my
Well, it
eyes.
has to be that way. And you only feel fulfilled at the end of your day. And I keep saying that because I see so many people that aren't. They're always looking for that next best thing, or they're just feeling like something's missing. You can go home and feel like I've closed this book. And of course, you're going to continue on with whatever's on your to-do list the next day, but you can go home at the end of the day and say, I've done that thing, I've accomplished whatever it was. But if it's people focused, then you feel fulfilled. It's just
Yes.
a nice thing. And then, of course, it helps other people. So that's what life is all about. And I think that we focus oftentimes on our own problems for sure, but give yourself 24 hours. I cry too. I have my moments. We all feel sorry for ourselves for a minute there, but give yourself 24 hours and then think about that next foot forward, like you said, always.
Yep. Yep. And to paraphrase one of the things, the way that I put that with people, just so they can make the connection and so they hear what you're saying is the same thing I say, is that
Yeah,
feel what you feel, just don't stay there.
that's right. Yes. Yes.
So she said the same thing. So y'all listen.
Yeah. And
um,
again, talking about therapy, that's why I love the fact that we provide, and that was my husband's idea, by the way, not mine. He came up with that about 3 years ago. And having Anne Marie Dwyer here, that licensed therapist, and we're fixing to expand her department actually. We're looking into some fun grant opportunities that would help to fund that and add more people to her department. That is so huge. So it's not that you can't even work on yourself after you felt bad for yourself for a moment. Feel bad for yourself, but then seek out those people that can help you learn those coping skills while moving forward, and still kind of looking for those opportunities. I always say the best people in the world never think they have it all figured out, because you don't. I don't have it all figured out. But as long as you have somewhat of a positive mindset and some supportive people like yourself or a therapist or whatever it is to kind of support you along that journey, that's going to help you get there. So don't ever think that you can't work on yourself. I know that, I'm sure you see that in moms. We feel guilty doing anything for ourselves sometimes, but your kids will only be the best versions of themselves if they see you trying to be the best version of yourself, you know?
yes, and that's a great segue to my next question,
Yeah.
actually. So your business is kind of centered around the aesthetics, obviously, Southeastern Aesthetics Institute.
I know. I wish we would have named the business something else, Loriana, but that's where we are. Okay.
No, no,
Go
no, no, I
ahead.
love it because one of the things that I struggled with for a very, very long time,
Yeah.
and I think I'm over it, but for so long, it was self-care. I
Yeah.
actually have a t-shirt that says self-care is a necessity, not
Uh,
a luxury. And I think, and I'm not gonna lie, for the longest time, like, okay, well, I'm not gonna spend money to put something on my face just to make myself look beautiful. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that's how I felt.
You're naturally beautiful, Loriana.
No, thank you, but
But
no. But thank you. So, but backing up from that,
yeah.
my mindset changed and I realized it's not about just making our face look good. It's not about that. I mean, there are some real conditions that you help with. I know that for a fact. There's a lot of medical stuff that goes into what you do, but there's also that deeper part of just taking care of yourself and knowing that you are treating the internal part just as much as you are the external. So you want to speak to that a little bit on just that element of the personal gain that you get from just taking care of your skin and all the things that you use. Like you said, I know you do a lot. So you want to speak to that for a second?
Absolutely. So it depends on what kind of clients that we're treating. I'll say that first and foremost, but you're right. I mean, people do come in with many different skin conditions, and here's where it kind of goes into self-care. So let's speak to the skin conditions for a minute. This could be anything from hormonal splotchy hyperpigmentation that looks more like paint
I've had
splatter.
that.
Right. And then deep lines and wrinkles. You could have hormonal cystic acne on the jawline area. Also, another thing that I teach on a lot and we help people with, and we're helping people right now in the room next to me with laser hair removal, but it's Hirschism, which is upper lip hair and chin hair that's dark and terminal hair. It's kind of that thicker, it's not vellus hair. And it's hormonal hair growth on the upper lip, chin, and sometimes chest for women. This all goes back to internal inflammation and gut issues, the microbiome health, which all of that, as you know, goes into the wellness sector. So it gives us an opportunity as practitioners to really speak to, well, what are you doing for self-care? It has to be a focus in your life. Otherwise, you're going to see things manifest, such as skin conditions, like I just mentioned, but also your health overall. You're not going to be well. You're going to have other issues like autoimmune disorders. You're going to have the potential for, of course, worst case scenario would be cancer. I mean, you see a ton of diabetics come in here, a lot of lupus, a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of thyroid. So I teach a lot on the endocrine system, but it just makes women specifically, and we see again, like a lot of men too, realize that by focusing on what they are just perceiving as this frou-frou thing, which is self-care, you're actually treating your health. So I'm a big believer in self-care is healthcare. It really, really is. So not only do you just feel better, look better, but internally you're taking care of yourself too, because we get to open up those education moments for nutrition discussions, for, try to ask your physician to get off of the medications if they're okay with that, right? Just things that are toxic loads to our bodies. But another thing, of course, post-pandemic is just the connection with other women. I think as women, we probably have lost a lot of those girl friendships or friendships in general. And I myself went to an esthetician I don't even know, or I know her now, but I went and had a facial last week with someone I've never met. Now, I know every esthetician in this industry for the most part, so I don't know what I was seeking out. She had a really fun menu, but I just loved the talks. We talked about everything. We figured out we had so much in common. I was dying over the facial massage. That was incredible. And for someone that has sinus issues, I mean, just massaging in this area, just really opening up those pathways, that helped me, honestly, be a better speaker over the next couple of days because I've got allergies, like I mentioned. I mean, just so many different things that you can just see are a positive. So don't look at it as a vanity thing. I mean, of course, it does make you feel more confident to look a little better, right? But it is more for those personal self-care moments. It's about you. It's about the relationships you're building. You get to breathe deeper when you are getting a massage or getting a facial, and you just are a better person at the end of the day. I mean, so you could talk about so many benefits about why self-care is important, but it really goes down to the wellness factor in your health as a whole. I really don't understand how anybody could just go on taking care of everybody else, taking care of the kids, taking care of the husband, taking care of their matters at work or whatever they're responsible for, and not focusing on self-care. You have to have that balance. I'm a firm believer in balance. As busy as I am, I will delegate to other people so that I can have one day to myself. And whether that might be a day date with my husband, that's self-care sometimes to me, or going to get a facial on my own. I'm not good to anybody around here if I'm not taking care of me. So I do believe in self-care, and I hope that answered your question, but there's
Yes.
so many benefits to it for sure.
That absolutely answered my question. Thank you. Yes, and I think our listeners, I really hope my listeners will connect with that, and I think they will because that is a very in-depth way of looking at it. More thought. In fact, you shared in ways that I've heard before, and I've heard you talk about that. The physical connection to the manifestation of the. I've heard you talk about that, but honestly, I didn't even think about that just now until you said it. I'm like, oh, that's right, duh. I was thinking about like the emotional part of it, but I totally forgot about the. So that's great. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, well, we're about closing out on time, and like we could seriously go on and on,
Oh,
really.
yes.
So I loved this. So maybe will you come back and we can keep going? That would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Well, guys, if y'all have questions, how can if anyone listening wants to get in touch with you, do you do anything online or is it all local? That part I don't know.
So I'll give you all the different tools here. So we do have a YouTube channel, Southeastern Esthetics Institute, but of course, you'll see some things on there. There's a lot of private things for our students only. But you can also find us on Instagram at SE Aesthetics Institute. You can find me on Instagram at the_aesthetics_instructor. And then my email address is Courtney at seaestheticsinstitute.com. Definitely reach out to me anytime. And I love talking skincare, wellness, endocrine system stuff, hormones. That's my jam. So whatever question the audience has, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, of
And
course.
we will hopefully talk to you soon. This girl is just a true phoenix, and I am just so honored to have her on our show today, the Phoenix, Courtney Sykes. Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with a fellow Phoenix who could use this today. Fly high, my Phoenix friends, and we'll see you next time on Wellness Talks with LoLo.